Hi there and welcome to Everyday Science, and this week we're going to be learning about the science of the water cycle and surface water flooding. So let me introduce my diagram. So here on my diagram you can see a couple of clouds, the sun, a river and a tree, and I'm going to use these to describe the common terms of the water cycle and explain how this relates to surface water flooding. Starting here. When the sun warms up the surface of the river, we get evaporation, which means some of that water becomes a water vapor. This is then condensed and forms clouds. From this, we then have that water vapor, that moisture, released in the form of snow or rain in a process called precipitation. This is how the water cycle repeats itself. Another critical part of this process is transpiration, which means when plants or trees use the water in the soil, they transport it up to their leaves, and this is then lost to the atmosphere as vapor as it's evaporated off the surface of the leaves. The rest of the process actually happens within the soil. So let's talk about that. We have percolation, which is the vertical movement of the water through the soil. We also have through flow, which is the horizontal lateral movement of water through the soil. We also have that infiltration, which is when rain falls on the soil, some of the water is then absorbed by the soil. Now, the soil absorbs water by filling up all the pore spaces in the soil structure. So let's say this is the soil structure. All the various spaces, the pores, are then filled with water. But when all the pores are filled with water and they're past that point, you then start to get the saturation of the soil. The greater saturation of the soil then increases our surface runoff. Now, this is the rain on the surface of the earth that then falls off it, and this then flows into water bodies such as rivers and lakes. Now, when we have a lot of rainfall or an extreme weather event, we have a flash event where often it means that a lot of rains fall, the earth is fully saturated, there are no more empty pores, and we have a lot of surface runoff, but that water has nowhere to go. The rivers burst its banks, and then that leads to this surface runoff events and that surface water flooding that you may see. And this seems to be getting worse because we are getting more extreme climate events as climate change affects the cycles. So climate change, at every 1 degree increase, leads to a 7% intensification of our water cycle. And this is why we see more and more extreme weather events. And this is how it all relates to the water cycle. I hope you enjoyed this everyday science all about the water cycle, surface water flooding, and of course, climate change. See you next week for more. Bye for now.